Deadly Aim, an Angel Delaney mystery, Book 1. Written by Patricia Rushford. Narrated by Stephanie Richardson. 1. Mist rolled gray and thick over the small coastal town of Sunset Cove, Oregon. Perfect weather for what needed to be done. Ordinarily, he left it up to his manager to oversee the operations. But not tonight. Well, morning, actually. It was nearly 3 a.m. Though he'd worked with the same crew for over a year, he didn't trust them, any of them. He'd gotten word that one of his dealers was skimming, and worse, stealing controlled drugs from local pharmacies. Of course, most dealers skimmed a little. But JJ was getting far too greedy, even thinking about setting up his own business. And he should know better than to pull a stunt like that. Nobody double-crossed Duke and got away with it. Duke. Huh. A rich name for a rich dude. That's all they knew about him. And that's all he wanted them to know. Not even his manager knew who he really was or what he did. He rolled his thick shoulders and massaged his neck muscles through his black turtleneck. He'd had a rough week. Not that it mattered, of course. For him, one day faded into another. But it wouldn't always be like that. 2 more years and he'd retire, at least from his day job. Catching a glimpse of his reflection in the window, Duke smiled. To look at him, no one would suspect that he was anything but an upstanding citizen. He left the window, moving silently to his closet, where he took the polished wooden case off the shelf. Opening it, he lifted his .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol out of its velvet-lined case, shoved in a magazine from his stockpile, and slipped the gun into his holster. He then lifted the silencer out of the case and dropped it into his right pocket. His lips curled in a sneer. These babies were rare, and the government kept close tabs on who had them. Not his, though. The previous owner was 6 feet under. When Duke was 16 years old, after years of abuse, he'd finally gotten the upper hand over his father, and he'd been lucky enough to stash the silencer and the gun before the cops had shown up. Duke looked down at the gun. He could have skipped the silencer. Sunset Cove's finest would be too far away from the docks to hear anything, and most of the residents would be asleep. But he wanted the added insurance. He donned a drab olive rain slicker and jammed his feet into iron-toed work boots. The jacket stretched tight.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?